Good evening. We are going to continue along on our video series. Right now, the video is going to be solving multi-step equations. This would be an equation that requires more than 2 steps to be solved. Okay, as we learned in previous videos, we know our two steps would be to move the constant and then move the variable or the coefficient. So what we need to do now is we need to look at what happens if I have to do more than one thing. So let's start out looking at number 1. And in number 1, we see that we have 3x plus 4x minus 2 is equal to 12. Well, we noticed that we have 3x and 4x, and as we learned in previous videos and class sessions, we know we need to combine like terms. So the first thing that I would do is combine 3x and 4x and get 7x and just bring everything else down. Okay? There is no reason for us to do multiple steps on multiple lines. We make sure we understand it. So now it looks like we have a 2-step equation. We have 7x minus 2 plus 12. So as we recall from our first 2-step equation, we look at our constant, negative 2. And we know we need to move it. So how do we move a negative 2? We add it. So we add 2 to both sides, and we're left with 7x is equal to 14. And again, that we learned in our 2-step and 1-step notes, that now we take care of our coefficient. Our coefficient is 7, and it is being multiplied to x, so we know the inverse of multiplication is division. And so we know that 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 14 divided by 7 is 2. And that will be our final answer. X is equal to 2. Okay, moving on, we're going to look at one with distribution. Okay, we will start out with number 8. Okay, and when we talk about distribution, remember we multiply the number on the outside by everything on the inside. So we see that we have parentheses, so that tells us we need to distribute. So what number do we need to distribute? Well, we need to distribute the number immediately on the outside. But we also need to make sure that we take this operational sign with us. That's part of the number. So we know, as we learned from the previous video, when we distribute to everything in the parentheses. So our first step, we would just bring our 8x down. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, and x comes with it. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. Negative times a positive is equal to 13. Okay, so now I know. Now my stuff looks familiar. I have an 8x and a minus 6x, so I want to combine like terms. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 8x minus 6x is 2x minus 15 is equal to 13. Again, now I have a 2-step equation. So now I need to look. First step, move my constant. Identify your constant is negative 15. How do I move a negative 15? I add 15. So that leaves me with 2x is equal to 28. Now, as we learned from our videos before, our last step would be to move our coefficient. Our coefficient is 2, so we would divide by 2. And we're left with x is equal to 14. And that is our final answer. And as always, if you're in doubt, you can substitute 14 in for x and work it out to make sure that you're correct. Okay, well, I want to show you one thing here. Let's look at number 3. Now, number 3 looks the same as number 5, except there is a big difference. I know I have to distribute, but when I look here, I don't have anything out here I have to distribute. Well, if you see this, you automatically know you need to add a 1. So now I'm just distributing this negative 1 to all the parts of my equation. Okay? So I brought my 4x down. Negative 1 times x gives me negative x. Negative 1 times negative 4, negative times a negative is a positive, and that's minus 20. Okay? I have my x's. Let's combine them. So I have 4x minus x, so 3x plus 4 is equal to negative 20. Now I have to move my constant. Let's identify it. That's positive 4. How do I move a positive 4? I subtract 4, subtract 4. Remember now, since I'm subtracting 20, I add the opposite, so I get negative 24. And my last step is to identify my coefficient and divide by it. So what am I left with? I'm left with x is equal to negative 24 divided by 3 gives me negative 8. And that is my final answer. And the last one I want to show you this one with fractions. Now I'm going to show you one way to do it, and your teachers may show you a different way. Either way is okay. So the first thing, obviously,